Hello, this is Don Lee here, and welcome to the training video on the Flywheel. You're in for a treat. I'm excited to share this with you. It's one of many topics in business and management that I've wanted to share. It's certainly a topic that I've been teaching my own clients, and also I've been able to apply it to my own business that I'm building here. I believe it's that relevant and also that important. So for any of you that are building their own business, small to big businesses, if you are a GM or a country manager leading a small to large organizations, even if you're leading a project, whether it's a big one or a small one, this flywheel can be applied to you. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you what the flywheel is, why it's important, and give you some real life examples of companies that have utilized the flywheel to become who they are today. And lastly, I'll be taking you through the steps of how to create a flywheel. And so and before we get into the lesson, this is going to be one of many videos that I plan on making. There's just a whole bunch of topics in business and management and strategy and sales and marketing that I want to share. And for the audience members out there that are planning on achieving English fluency, these are some of the top and trending topics in business that you should be well versed in. It's going to creep into a discussion, a conference call, a meeting with partners, with your clients. It's going to be in discussion. So it's going to be in the best interest for you to know about these topics, but on top of that, know how to hold a conversation on it. So there's going to be many things that you can take away from this video. So as long as you're able to take away some golden nuggets, some key ideas, and have it apply to your own life, then that's what this is for, right? So without further ado, let's get right into it. Why do some companies build this great momentum and become who they are today? And on the other side of that token, why do companies have a hard time building momentum and often fizzle out and disappear from the face of the earth? They all have one thing in common. They have the flywheel. So what is the flywheel, right? And so let me show you a picture of what a flywheel looks like. So this flywheel, it's pretty heavy, right? It's going to weigh about, 6,000, 7,000 pounds. It's pretty huge. And the idea is, if you start pushing this flywheel, in the early stages, it's going to require a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and it's going to move very slowly at first. But if you keep on pushing, and with enough effort, it's going to complete one entire turn. So in the early stages of this flywheel that's turning, it's going to require a lot of effort, it's going to require a lot of energy, and it's going to require a lot of time. But if you stop after one turn, what tends to happen is, in time, it's going to slow and remain in one place. So you have to keep pushing. Now, if you keep pushing and the flywheel completes one turn, with momentum, the wheel will start spinning a bit faster and it's going to start catching incremental speed. So the faster it moves, the more energy that it generates. And it's going to require less effort to push, but it's got so much momentum behind it that in time, the wheel will start turning on its own without any effort. And that's the exact metaphor that we're using in business. So if you look at companies like Intel and Disney and Amazon, they all have this great flywheel that is in constant motion. And it's going into one direction that's so focused that it gains compounding returns on its business. That's the idea. Right, that's the flywheel. Let's go into a deeper dive into a company that utilizes the flywheel quite well. Uber does it very well. So this is the flywheel for Uber. And at the top of the flywheel, you've got more demand, right? If you have more demand for the service of Uber, what's going to happen is on that next turn, you'll have more drivers. The more people that are using Uber, the more drivers that's going to attract because they're going to be able to make more money. And when there are more drivers, Uber is going to cover much more ground in their geographic coverage. So going from point A to point B, right? There may be, instead of having just one driver ready for pickup, there may be about a dozen of them. And that becomes more valuable for Uber because if you are able to cover more geographic coverage, that allows for faster pickups. So for anyone that is hailing a Uber car, because there's going to be more drivers on deck, so essentially it takes away the waiting aspect of catching an Uber car, right? And if there's a faster pickup rate, that's going to in turn generate more demand for the service. It just becomes much more valuable for the end user, right? That's the whole essence of Uber's value proposition, is that you're able to catch a ride literally anywhere instantly. Get from point A to point B instantly without having to wait. So this is the virtuous cycle that Uber takes on. And as you can see as well, if you're able to cover more ground, meaning more geographic locations, then you'll have less driver downtime, which in turn drives down prices, which in turn generates more demand because it's less expensive, because it drives down the cost of actually trying to get from point A to point B. So this is the value proposition that drives into both parties, right? It's a win-win proposition. And this is the flywheel that Uber has designed. And because of this design, Uber is what it is today, and in very quick time as well. Now let's take a look at a company that we are all very familiar with. It's Amazon. This is the Amazon flywheel. At the very top of the flywheel, you've got lower prices on more offerings. Now, if you've got lower prices on more offerings, what's going to happen is you'll have more customer visits. The customers value the low prices and also the diversity in the selection of goods on their website. And when you have more customer visits, the site becomes much more valuable to the third-party sellers. And they want to get in on the action. They want to start selling their goods. They want to go where the action is, they want to go where there's the heaviest amount of traffic. And in this case, it's the Amazon platform. When you have more third-party sellers, you're going to be able to expand the store, meaning Amazon first started off selling books. Now they sell everything. It's the everything store, right? Everything and anything store. And when they're able to expand their store, extend the distribution, the next element, the next turn in their flywheel is growing revenues per fixed costs, right? And then with that, you get to the very top of the flywheel again, which is lower prices on more offerings. And that is another virtuous cycle that a successful company has designed to become who they are today, the fastest growing company on earth. Amazon. And this flywheel does not change. I mean, sure, when there is an innovation in their business model, like the Amazon Web Services, they're also getting to ship forwarding. They're going into a whole bunch of other business ventures, and they're able to do that because they have their main flywheel design that's so successful, so continuous, that it just runs on its own. The sales that they generate, they're able to venture into these next business model innovations and disrupt pretty much any industry that they get into. So I've been doing a lot of reading and research into the flywheel. It is a trending topic, but it's been a model that has been used by the most successful companies today. And so then I had to ponder the idea of what is that common denominator? Once I find that denominator, how can I apply it to my own business? And so that denominator was the flywheel for me. And so then I went into designing my own flywheel, and I want to show you what it looks like. So this is our company flywheel, and at the very top of the flywheel, we've got selecting coaches infused with passion, right? We're not going out there and selecting Ivy League professors or people with, PhD degrees, although we do have coaches that have PhD degrees and with coaches that have distinguished academic backgrounds. But that is not the criteria we're going for. The criteria is we want to find coaches with passion, infused with passion. And that's our baseline. And that has been our main criteria in recruiting coaches to our platform. And the next element of our flywheel would be cultivating a collaborative, client-centered culture. Because when you have a group of passionate coaches, each coach has their own recipe, their own flavor, their own character, and they bring a lot to the table. So you want to build a collaboration with these coaches so that A, we can deliver the best results for our clients. B, coaches are able to exchange ideas, strategies, lesson plans with each other. Because all we want to do is drive value and results for our clients, right? So that's the culture that we're cultivating here. And the next in line would be work across specialties for best client outcomes. So this is similar with the prior element in that we have coaches with diverse backgrounds, right? We've got coaches that have specialties in speech and pronunciation. We've got coaches that, crisis management. We've got coaches that have their own practice of executive presence, executive voice. We've got coaches that are even CEOs and leading their own companies. So because of that, we're able to make that perfect match, which ultimately allows us to create the best client outcomes. And next, in turn, we have achieve learning for each and every client. That's not possible if we can't achieve the element right before that, which is we're working across specialties for best client outcomes. And by doing so, we're achieving learning for each and every client. And if we are able to achieve learning for each and every client, we're able to enhance our reputation, not just for achieving client results, but also for a great place to coach. Right? We're making it attractive for outside coaches that have never heard of us to come work with us. As a result, we're able to replenish the passionate coach pipeline, and it brings us right back to the top of the flywheel, which is selecting coaches infused with passion. So that is our flywheel in a nutshell. And it's a work in progress, of course. So from what I've learned is once you've designed the flywheel, it's not a finished product. You're going to have to keep working on this flywheel. But the idea is once you've designed your flywheel, it's going to be acting as your base. It really should guide you to the direction that you've set for your company. This is our DNA. This is who we are as of today and where we will be going in the future. And absolutely there's going to be times where we have to maybe replace an element, or we have to just expand on an element, or even break off and create another sub flywheel. Because environments change and companies change, and of course we're in an industry that is ripe for disruption, and so I have that in mind. However, this is the base flywheel that we are using to grow our company. Now, I've given you 3 examples, and it's up to you how you want to consume this information. But if I were you and you are in a position where you feel that you can implement this flywheel to your business, my recommendation is to get going on it right away. There's really no incentive for you to wait. So what I want to show you is essentially 3 steps on how to get going on creating your flywheel. And so the first step would be creating a list of your significant and replicable successes that your company, organization, projects has achieved. This could be small to big time successes, right? You just want to create a list. The second step would be using the successes that you've identified, and we're keeping it to about 4 to 6. You're going to sketch the flywheel. And you can use my example, you can use Uber's, you can use Amazon. And so you're going to start sketching the flywheel. The first thing you want to know is what's going to be at the top of your flywheel, right? And what follows next? What's after that? This one is important. You should be able to explain why each component follows from the prior component. Each element should be in continuation, and it should really explain logically why each component follows from the prior component that you've outlined. You want to outline the path right back to the top of the loop. And you should be able to explain how this loop cycles back upon itself to really accelerate the momentum. So everything should be aligned, it should be together. If you're having a hard time logically explaining why each component follows the next one in line, then you got to redesign it. Because the whole point of this flywheel is that each turn is generating momentum and adding to the next element, and the next element is adding to the next element, and it should loop itself back to the top of your flywheel. And so if you're not able to do that, then you got to go back to the drawing board and redesign your flywheel. We're keeping it to about 4 to 6 components. If you have more than 6 components, you're making it too complicated. So you want to consolidate, simplify the model to capture the true essence of your flywheel. Right? So those are the 3 steps. It's really easy to get started with. And really anyone can get started. You don't have to be a business owner. You don't have to be leading a Fortune 500 company. If you understood what the core lesson of today, anything that you do, it's going to take time. It's going to take your efforts, and everything will be slow in the beginning. But if what you're doing holds weight and it's important to you and you have a direction, then with each consecutive turns of the flywheel, it's going to gain momentum and it's going to pick up speed. And with each turn, it's going to allow you to step back from the flywheel and let the flywheel run on its own. So I gave you a business example, but it doesn't have to be business. It can be a non-business project. It can be a hobby that you're pursuing. It can be your English training. It can be the relationships that you're forming with your colleagues, your family members, close friends. The flywheel applies to really anything in life. It's design. And in nature, the flywheel, if constructed properly from the beginning with care, all it takes is one big push and one big effort in the beginning stages, and by the later stages it's going to be turning on its own and accelerating in speed, and where you're exerting less energy and spending less time, but it's giving you a multiple in returns. So if you liked today's training and you particularly liked the types of phrases and vocabulary that I was using and throughout this video, there's actually a way that you can study those words and make it yours. And that's in the form of flashcards. So I've made a flashcard deck available for download to anyone that is a Daily Business Plus subscriber. So immediately upon watching this training video and you want to acquire the phrases, the idioms, phrases that I used, you can have it in a flashcard deck available for you to start training right now. If you're not yet a Daily Business Plus subscriber, you can join us by clicking on the link in the bottom of the description. You can get going on that right away. And I plan on making more of these videos in the future on different business topics that I find interesting. So please keep an eye out for that. And if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so you can be notified whenever a new video pops up. So thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.